The man sitting in front of me today has spent 20 years coaching people through their hardest moments, helping them find courage, find freedom, and find themselves. But nobody gets there without a story. Today, you hear this. Andrew Porteous, welcome to Legacy Talks. I'm glad you're here with me.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here. It's not every time, or actually I've never told these stories before, I think, publicly. I had a small group where I might have told one of them, but nobody's heard it publicly before, so yeah.
That's good. That's really, really good. So, ladies and gents, that's going to be something you have never heard before. And actually, at the start, I wanted to ask you something that nobody asked you ever this before at the beginning of interview. Not what you do, not your title, not your CV. Who are you right now, today, as a human being? And how would you describe yourself if none of that professional stuff existed?
Right. None of the professionals. Well, I always see myself immediately as a spirit being in a physical body. So that's my first identity marker. After that, I would say I'm a 54-year-old New Zealander who's been living in Germany for 29 years and a loving father, 3 beautiful children, a loving wife who I love, and a growing awareness of what's happening in the world right now and what's taking place and my role in it.
No pressure. You described yourself as a light worker. Where does it come from?
Well, it's interesting you ask. I actually had the chance to tell a small group of people that I was a light worker recently in a Making the Stage session in Malaysia in Penang. And what happened was nobody understood it. So I decided I'd just stick to being an alchemist and that would be it. But light workers, there's many of us on the planet. People used to say a certain number, like 144,000 or something like that, but it's not the case. There's many more. And we act as channels for light, which contains energy and information, directly through our bodies into the earth, into Gaia, into the planet. And we have been able to activate the crystalline grid along with many other beings that have contributed to this. So the crystalline grid was just not destroyed, but deactivated and misused for many, many years in other ways by other entities, and we've been able to activate the light grid. Light workers also spread light. They help anchor in light. They light holders and bearers on this planet.
What is light?
What is light? Well, it's a really lovely question. It's like a car, you know? You can drive a car, but you might not be a mechanic, right? Okay? So people who work with light, I'm a Reiki master. I've got my 3rd level in Reiki twice. They can heal other people with their hands, but they might not know completely how light works. We have a central sun called Sirius, I believe, works through our sun, which we have in our solar system, closest to us, and that these entities, these huge beings, they project light to our planet, and light has life-giving energy in it. So it consists of energy and information. And when you think about God, or what you understand as God, God is a being of light and love. So if you sign a letter or you type off an email, light and love, you're actually sharing a little piece of God right there with other people. But as far as the quantum physics of light goes, I'm not qualified to talk about that today. Or I will be, but not right now. I don't consider myself an expert on light. I'm not a quantum physicist. I know some quantum physics. I can explain some parts of it, but not everything.
Thank you. I think that as an alchemist and light worker, you've got a very, very important job. But before we go there, let's go back to your story, because I feel that there is a very, very interesting story you've got. Who were you before Alaska, and what did you want from life then? And yeah, because I need to get this because okay. I can't wait.
Yeah, okay. That's a nice question. It's almost another world for me. Timelines have shifted since then. But back then I was a freewheeling wild New Zealand guy who went on adventures all around the world and ended up being fishing in Alaska on a summer break. Actually, the last time I went up, I believe it was the end of my university at Ambassador University in Texas. And I was up there with a few other guys fishing. I took a whole lot of guys with me in a Toyota Corolla, 10,000 kilometer trip. And we ended up getting jobs on fishing units, fishing crews. And I ended up on a halibut boat driven by an alcoholic. The captain was an alcoholic, and I'd worked with him the previous year and we'd repaired his boat together. But this time I was too busy. I wasn't able to. And he put me in as second mate, or first mate actually, and we had a crew member, a young guy of 16. So there was only 3 of us on the boat, and I was first mate. And I'd only had one year of experience up there, but I guess I was big enough and strong enough, but maybe I wasn't experienced enough. And he had fixed the fiberglass hole of the gas tank without taking the rest of the fiberglass out. So he just left the pieces in the bottom. He hadn't vacuum cleaned the bottom of the fiberglass tank. And we had a storm at the bottom of Cape Hope in Alaska, and around the corner, actually, in a little bay. It was a big bay, but the storm was hitting us, and we were moving. We had to anchor off in that bay, and we thought we were safe, but the waves were quite high, several meters high, each wave hitting the boat. Somehow we didn't. Yeah, the motor failed on us because of the fiberglass getting into the gas engine, into the diesel engine, and the fiberglass stuck to the filter and stopped the filter, so taking in the diesel. So the motor was out. So the captain was able to get into the guts of the boat and change the filter and give it a new one. But there was still fiberglass moving all around that gas tank in the storm, and it blocked up the second one. So that's when we threw over 2 anchors over both sides. Storm was hard enough. We did hit the bottom with both anchors, but they snapped. The storm was strong, it was raining hard. One anchor snapped, and then the other one snapped, and I was resting in the bunk at the time, and suddenly the boat was like soft and smooth, and everything was sort of floating. And we were going up and down these waves. We weren't being hit by them anymore. We were floating on top and going down the valleys and heading towards these cliffs. So, Captain, hey, what? We're not going anywhere. Oh, no, whoa, we lost the second anchor. Yeah, we can't stay. We're drifting. So he started maydaying because we're dead in the water. Blue duck. We're dead in the water. Nobody heard us. There was the storm. There was the cliffs. Yeah, this bay, and our signal wasn't getting out. We couldn't. There was nothing, But it did go out to sea, and apparently 5 kilometers away, or roughly, there was a trawler way out there that was able to get our signal and radioed in back into the coast to get the Coast Guard. And he got the Coast Guard. We were like, blue duck, we're dead in the water. We were doing that for, it seemed like ages. It seemed like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Got no answer. But then eventually, after about an hour, we're still drifting towards these cliffs. We got an answer, and the Coast Guard apparently was going to come and pick us up. And they were spying on Russians illegally fishing in a bay a few kilometers around. They were, illegally fishing there. So the Coast Guard came in, and it was raining, and we were about to hit the cliffs. It seemed like we were only like a cut, 200 or 300 meters away. I don't know how far away we were from the cliffs. All I know is the cliffs were like 80 meters high. That's how high they seem. They're black and glistening and sharp. And we put on our wetsuits in order to jump on the cliffs to climb them, because the boat was going to hit the cliffs. But the helicopter arrived before the boat hit the cliffs, was able to get a steel, like a shopping trolley, down on a steel cable, latch it onto the boat, and we were able to, one at a time, go up and be winched up this little shopping trolley. And I put my bag in with the money I'd earned from all of my set net fishing in my arms and with my passport, and was able to get winched up into the boat. And the captain came last, thankfully. Stay with the boat. The second helicopter came around to join us, and as we went in to get processed at Cape Hope, the second helicopter stayed and actually videoed, because it was happening. It was very close to the cliff by the time we got out, and they just videoed it getting smashed up into the cliff for insurance purposes. So the boat just was bashing against the rocks as we were flying away, and the second helicopter came to stop. They just photographed the boat getting smashed up. He didn't have insurance. The captain didn't have insurance. He lost everything. What I miss is the 2,000 kgs of halibut we had on the deck of the boat. That all went down with the boat. But I was burnt out. I was totally demolished. I ended up having a big rethink about my life after that.
So what's changed since?
I'm a lot more serious now. I used to be a fun-going, laughing guy, full of parties and action and drinking, and don't drink alcohol anymore. Not that that particularly affected it. It took a long time to stop drinking, but that changed me in ways that, that 16-year-old almost died. I mean, we almost died. That would have been death if the Coast Guard hadn't have found us right then, right there. I think in 20 more minutes we would have been up against the cliff, or even 10 minutes, and that was the end of us. We would have been smashed against rocks. We would have tried to climb. We might have made it. I don't know. They look pretty slippery, those rocks. It was vertical, straight up. Captain shoved down a 44 gun on one side of his wetsuit and a pack of cigarettes, like a whole long pack of cigarettes in the other. And I'm like, great. How are you going to
Priorities.
Climb with priorities, man? Climb with those. Climb up the cliffs with that on you, Anyway, yeah.
You mentioned about 2,000 kilos of fish.
Fish. Yeah, that
On the form.
We'd worked hard for.
Yes. On the form, you put a smiley face when you wrote about it. That smiley face, tell me about it.
Well, I was happy that we'd done so well, that the fish died at the bottom. Well, they were dead already, but they went to the bottom instead of us. But I'd still, it's a little bit sad, even, I had a smiley face, but basically would work really hard for that. And I'd seen all that hard work just go down to the bottom of the ocean, or I hadn't seen it. I saw it on the video on the news. It was replayed on the Alaskan news, and the next day watching our boat get smashed up against the rocks and sink to the bottom. So you just have to keep trying, don't you? You get hit hard in life, and you have to get up and keep going. But I didn't recover from that. I was very quiet for a few months after that. I haven't been fishing since. I haven't been there. I'm a lifeguard. I can save people. I can do that, but I'm not going near a fishing boat again.
Thank you. You have spent 20 years helping other people to change their lives, and you were sitting with them in the most frightened moments, helping them to find themselves. How much of that work was born in? Not
much, to be honest. Yeah, and a lot of my coaching work has come about through what I've been through in other parts of my life. This was one event that happened, and I've had many events happen to me. I think I can relate to others because of perhaps some other things that happened, like my son dying, for example, at 14 months old in my arms, or from leukemia, or perhaps some of the events I've been through in my younger life that have been quite traumatic, and recovering from those, or a lot of the NLP therapy I've done, different things. So there's been a lot of experiences in my life that have led to me being able to coach others. Also, the more I go on, the more I'm empty. It's weird, but it's like we're layers of an onion, and we're letting go of the different layers over time and reducing down to that beautiful white core within. So a lot of the time, I'm just downloading for people. They're not even my words. So, and I do less coaching than you'd think. Alchemy is the process of taking a lower form of energy and alchemizing it into a higher form. So that happens in finances, it happens in relationships, it happens in health. And I don't tend to be experts in relationships or health. I'm more of a finance guy. So I help people in that area mostly.
The Alchemist, you mentioned the book before we started recording. What did you understand from the book, and when did you start connecting any dots? How did it? Tell me about it.
Well, when I read the book when I was 17, like Paul Coelho, The Alchemist, I was on my own journey, my own exciting adventure, I was enjoying discovering the world, getting out of New Zealand, going to different, I went to Fiji when I was 19. I started growing and developing and discovering a lot of different places. And that was an exciting journey in itself. So The Alchemist spoke to me, but it had a lot of depth to it. There's some quantum physical things taking place in that book that I didn't fully understand until later. And even though I had always put my name, The Alchemist, I'd always had it as an email address, I'd used it here and there as a brand, I'd never really thought of myself as an actual alchemist until I started learning deeply how we change reality ourselves. And there are many alchemists here. I just saw an alchemist as a guest on your show. So, you had another alchemist. I love listening to her. And there's alchemists out there and more people are coming up and saying, yeah, I am an alchemist. I do alchemize things. Many of us alchemize things. So in some way, we're all alchemists. We all take the lower forms of our lives and alchemize them into something higher by how we focus, what we think about. Our circumstances and our situations change because of that.
So what question does someone who goes through hardship, because you mentioned that certain things happen to your life and they were not the easiest one. What kind of question did you started asking yourself, and what questions should people ask themselves if something happens for them?
For them or to them?
For them.
Something happens for them.
Yes.
Something good.
Because very often we don't realize that, as Lillian said, things happen to us and we put ourselves as a victim.
Yes. I understand.
And when things start happening for us,
yes.
Maybe when did you start recognizing that things were happening for you?
Well, when my son died, things really opened up for me. So spiritually, so that philosophically, I would say probably a few years after that. I realized that everything on this planet happens for us. It's all about our soul journey, our soul development, our soul growth, and everything is for our, to test our soul, to enable our soul, to enable ourselves. Your higher self is always in connection with you. Are you going to grow and develop, or are you going to use your free will to not grow and develop right now? So yes, it's always happening for us and around us and to us for our ultimate benefit. That's right. You're absolutely right. And the questions to ask ourselves, that's a good point you raised, because questions are power. And if you're asking yourself questions, you're in control. Those who ask questions are the ones who are in control. So you're in control of your life. And the questions we ask ourselves determine the direction of our lives, because that's the answers that our subconscious gives us. We're internally asking ourselves questions all the time. So for example, if you were to ask something for you happen, like something negative, something that's impacting you, that is bringing you in not a good place right now, the question to ask would be, what lesson can I learn from this? What's the lesson in here for me? Why is this helpful for me? What is this giving me right now? What is this message, this emotion that I'm feeling? What's the message of the emotion? Because emotion is energy in motion, right? So what is this energy telling me? What is this emotion telling me? And then stop and listen for an answer. Instead of, emotion, act, widen the gap so you have the space in order to make a decision. A good one, a classy one, something that's going to help you, not hinder you.
So what does it mean, listen to the answer?
That's a beautiful question. So as an alchemist,
I have to ask this question because it's a core.
It's a great question. So one of the alchemist codes is that of neutral observer. As an alchemist, you're a neutral observer. So we think of 4 levels of divinity. We think of you, God is separate from you, and you're here, you're a victim. We think of, I have a good relationship with God. Here, the 3rd level of divinity, God is a part of me. Part of God is in me. And the 4th level, I am God. I am unconditional love, viewing the world with neutrality. So that's an interesting statement. If you see everything that happens for you as data. So everything that comes to you is just data. It's just something to be alchemized. How are you going to alchemize that? What are you going to do with that? It's neutral. It's neither bad nor good. Something's happening, it's terrible. Something's terrible is happening right in front of you. And you can see, okay, what is the best way to react? What's the best action in this situation? What's the best thought? What's the best action? And then you take that higher timeline. You choose your higher timeline in that moment, choosing your higher level of action, of reaction, in order to lift up that situation and make it better, the best possible timeline that you can give it, rather than just reacting automatically based on your past and your past programming. Slow that down, allow that gap, and then with neutral observation, unconditional love and neutral observation, look at whatever's happening and say, what provides the best value at this moment? What is the best thing I can do, the highest timeline I can choose in this moment, and choose that.
What you're saying is not easy because, as you mentioned,
It's easy to say, it's not easy to do.
what I can say from my own experience, 5 of my children were not born. And firstly, I didn't allow myself to feel anything. And then there was so much sadness and so much grief. And as you mentioned, that we need to see that things happen for us. At the same time, we've got emotions we need to allow to process first and allow ourselves feeling, because if we don't ourselves feel, and if we say no, that our soul decided this, but inside we've got that the emotions that were not allowed to be lived.
Right.
What would you say if something goes through something very different? Because sometimes we hide our emotions so deep, and what may happen that we start drinking, we start taking drugs, we start doing anything not to feel, because that feeling is very, very overwhelming. And from that moment, when we feel, or when we try not to feel because it's so painful, like if we were without the skin, every touch is very painful. How would you transform something so difficult to the moment when this happened for me, I accept it? Yes.
Cassia, it's a really good question. It's not an easy one to answer because the answer is not easy. Okay, I've been an addict myself. I was addicted to gambling for many, many years. I've drunk a lot of alcohol in my life. I used it as a go-to to relax and to escape. Right. So what you're asking, that if you keep that emotion down and you drown it, or you keep it down, or you keep it down and you escape it, it's going to keep building up. And it will have physical effect in your life, in your body, if you don't take care of it and don't notice it. So emotions do have that outcome eventually. So you need to listen to emotions. I see emotions as messengers. They're messages for us. So they give us a message, and truly listening to them, where they come from, is very important. The problem is, although it's important to do that, it's really hard to stick with an emotion, to just feel it, to let it come up, to let it come out, and to cry or to yell or to scream or to allow that, to be released. That's not easy to do that. And you have to be careful where you do it and how you do it, probably. But unless that karmic emotion, in some cases, comes out of you and is released, you will have problems going forward. And we have emotions and karmic pain from previous lives as well, that you don't know where it came from. You're feeling this weird, depressed or angry, and you don't know. And it's not in this lifetime, because you've done enough therapy and you've done a lot of things, and it still hasn't taken care of it. And if you do a past life regression and you go and have a look with a proper coach, and you go and look at your past life, you see, wow, okay, that's what happened to me. That's where it's coming from. And you can forgive and heal, and you can give love to whatever that past life was and heal it up, so that you actually clean your timeline, you clean your karmic baggage.
Absolutely. I'm a family constellations therapist, and my journey started when I wrote my grandma's story, because my son asked, "Mom, what does it mean that you're Polish?" And he said, and I said, "Okay, I will speak to my grandma." And she went through the war. And when she went through the war, and
Okay.
I wrote her diary, we published it, but then I started learning about transgeneration traumas. And very often we don't even know we have it. Our body is poorly, we don't know what happens with it. For example, we're not allowed to feel certain emotions. So it's worth to go, as you mentioned, through the process, which is not easy. But if we allow it from adult point of view, because very often we've got
Yes.
when we were children, for example, when we were children. So when we've got a good therapist, we can see more than ourselves. And then when you see life, when you see faith, when you see God, because some things can come up with this, and then it's not poor me, but actually something else much higher, much bigger than you, and certain things will happen to you over and over and over again until you start seeing the pattern. And I think patterns are something that if we think that, oh, it's just a bad luck, things keep happening.
No, if
Like
it
if
keeps on coming up in your life, you've got to take care of it, right? If it's a pattern
ah,
that you see again and again that you don't like, or it's causing effects in your life that you don't like, then yeah. By the way, being a family consultation therapist, you are that? That's
yep,
interesting. It's one of the fastest ways to get rid of all of this karmic debt that we're carrying, this karmic trauma. So it's a really good way to do it. It's very fast. I coach them myself as well. Quite a number, hundreds of them in the past. I've got a certificate for it in order to do it. It is, yeah, I agree with you. And I do it quite fast. Not like Hellinger, but quite fast. And one of my coaches beside me, we were recently in Cologne, he said, well, that was quick and dirty. Yeah, but if you know where the energy is and you can change it quickly and you can just work with it, and the effects in your life still take place. You're changing the energy constellation, and therefore it has an effect in the energy constellation in your 3D reality. Even though you're changing it in the 5D, it has an effect in the 3D.
absolutely. We say that somewhere the love doesn't flow, so we just check where it stopped flowing. But also, it's worth to know that a part of things being in energy, they also in our body.
Right.
So, and because our body remembers, then it's also worth to work with our body through there are different types of releasing emotions. And I think
Absolutely.
that if we combine many different things with someone who knows what they do, I
Yeah.
think the results may be really good, because you can get stuck in traditional therapy and you may say, oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because you need to dig a bit deeper.
Yeah.
But
And
if
there
someone
are these.
doesn't,
There's a spiritual book. It's like a red book. I've seen it a couple of times. I wanted to order it, but I never got around to it. And it explains the physical ailments from a spiritual level, with everything that can go wrong in our bodies. So it's pretty good. Also, we have a special DNA. Scientists call it junk DNA as well. Our helix, our DNA system, and we have a part of us is very, very special DNA. They call it God DNA now, and well, have done for a while, but I'm very excited about it because not only are your DNA quite amazing for you as a human being. Your growth potential is just incredible. It's off the charts, spiritually, energetically. But also, mitochondria can now be extended rather than just diminishing. The telomeres on the end of the mitochondria, these cells, they can be extended, causing us to regenerate life and be able to get, be healthier and younger, not just age as we did in the past. So there's a lot of scientific breakthroughs that haven't made mainstream yet that will come online, I'm sure, that I'm really looking forward to having advance in my lifetime.
and also it's worth to know in our cells we've got particles that are called RNA. In our RNA, they remember, like for example, when mom gets pregnant, two DNAs are created and there's a new one formed, so we can have our hair color, skin color, but also our emotions. And what is fascinating that, and I think in South Korea, it's like when you are born, you're 1 year old already.
Oh, really?
Yes, I
How
found
they
out
count
about
it?
it.
I didn't know that.
So it's really fascinating that when someone is just became a cell, then the life starts, and then
Oh,
all
right.
development starts from
Okay.
there.
Wow.
So whatever happens to mom minus 18 months, so that's recall healing. It's a very sometimes when we got trauma, this is how we can recognize patterns as well, which is fantastic. But what do you find fascinating in life?
Well, for me, it's this idea of alchemy and the ability for everybody to become an alchemist, for you to be able to transform your life. And it depends on where you're at, of course, and what you're dealing with. But everybody listening to this call can transform their energy from a lower form into a higher form. And it's just about having the tools to do that. And I think that more and more people are going to realize that frequency and the level that you vibrate is going to become more and more important as we move forward, because we have technology now and we have the ability as human beings to recognize not maybe AI deep fakes, but intuitively, is there somebody real there? Is there a soul behind this? Is somebody telling the truth or not? Are we dealing with a real person or a real human being or not? And that's going to be more and more important going forward. Can I trust this person? Can I build a community together with this person? Yes or no? Can I make a business deal with this person? And I feel that as we move forward, I find fascinating and very interesting how communities are going to build around certain groups, that you're going to find your tribe more and more as systems here collapse, as we're seeing a huge system collapse with our health systems, insurance systems, banking, financial systems, governmental systems. So it's going to be very interesting seeing what happens and where all this is going, because people are trusting the governments less and less. And we've seen this in the past. We've got history to show us what happens when people trust governments less and less and less and less. There's something that happens at the end of the historical timeline where there's revolution of certain kinds. I'm just, I find the whole process fascinating. It's a very interesting times to live right now, 2026.
Yeah, I've heard somewhere that these 100 years are the most important for people, because the world is changing so much. My son, when you mentioned frequencies, I was learning from Dr. Hawkins quite a bit. And my son recently asked me, Mum, what does it mean? What the frequencies are? How do you look after your energy? And I tried to explain it to him. I will explain him the way I understood it. If you could add something to it, that would be amazing. I said, Jamie, imagine that you are a battery. So you charge yourself from the ground and you charge yourself from the sun. And so you keep yourself charged. And every horizontal kind of contact makes your battery discharged. And he just looked at me and said, Mom, I still don't understand it.
Right.
How can I be a battery?
Analogy, I like that, yeah.
So how would you explain to a teenager what the frequencies are and the energy, concept of energy? They're slightly different, but are they?
Well, there's three ways to talk about it, right? So we can talk about it in terms of quantum physics, right? So we have dimensions, and you can say very dense and heavy dimensions, dimension 3. Yeah, there's a dimension 2, a dimension 1. This is just basic quantum physics, very simple. You have dimension 4, which is more complex, and dimension 5. And every time you go into a higher dimension, you get lighter and lighter. So the lower dimensions are very heavy and very, very, very realistic, solid objects. And then, it gets lighter and lighter and lighter. You can imagine things moving faster and faster and lighter. You can't see them after a while. They're going so fast. You can't see my finger very well because it's going so fast, for example, right? So that's frequency on a quantum physical type. Very simple explanation. Then there was a guy called Graves who actually drew, for the artists in the room, drew some sort of a spiral, right? A spiral dynamics. He named it spiral dynamics. And there you see different colors going up as spirals. Humanity or civilizations or different, civilizations, they reach different levels of the spiral. A development in their spiritual or their civilization, reaching higher and higher levels of development. There's low tribes on survival and red and just warring with each other, for resources, and then it comes up and they get coordinated and it becomes more friendly and they trade and they share, and then they get into orange where it's like more, people trade, like the US is trading, it's like very orange, and you get into a more green sort of you move up and you have more and more of a spiritual nature to the civilization. And then there's another way to describe it as just music. So special frequencies like hertz. Well, there you go. Yeah.
Look how much we could.
Yeah, like that. Every tone has a frequency. It's either a good one that lifts you up, or it's a negative one that drags you down. The frequencies can raise your vibration, or they can lower it. The right music, you know it. You listen to certain music, you feel raised in vibration. You listen to other music, it's like dissonant and bang, it brings you down. It pushes your frequency down, right? So those are three ways to describe frequencies. And we are going through, as a planet, a change in frequencies on the planet. So we have something here on the planet called a Schumann resonance, which recognizes the planet's frequency. That planet itself has a frequency, and things happen with the planet. So that's a scientific measurement. It's measured on special instruments. You can measure that, like we can measure other frequencies. Some frequencies you can't see. You can't see things with the eye. They're invisible to us. There's a lot. Just because you can't see air doesn't mean the air's not there and that we're breathing it in. There's a lot of different frequencies we can't see, and that explains maybe something about
It's the
extra
same with
phenomena.
love. We can't see love, can you?
You can't see love, no. You can feel it. Oh, and by the way, our heart is the center of our body as an electromagnetic
Is it 2 meters, 3
vibrator.
meters radius? Radiation, as you mentioned, our heart
Yes.
creates electromagnetic fields,
Yes.
and it's about 2-3 meters.
Yeah, it's everybody's different depending on how much they radiate, how less, and you can also say it's an aura is combined with this as well. We have different bodies. We have an etheric body, which is our energetic body that covers us, which includes our heart system or our heart resonance, as well as our auric field. And then you have a physical body, you have an emotional body, and you have a mental body, right? So we have three different hearts. We have a heart here, we have a heart in our heart, we have heart matter in our heart, as well as in our stomach. So these three brains, we have brain matter on our heart and on our stomach. So we actually have three brain systems as well that coordinate. So when you're in alignment, the more aligned you are with your purpose and your goals and the universe, the more light and energy you can actually download through that pillar that you talked about from above and below. The more clear as a vessel you are for light and energy, the more alignment you are, the more you can resonate horizontally. And by the way, I don't need to protect myself any longer, but at a certain time, I did. You need to shield yourself from negative entities. Less and less on the planet as we go forward. There might be, that's another topic that we're not going to talk about right now. But you have to draw boundaries with your own energy and not always give it out to people all the time willy-nilly. You need to be able to manage your own energy and manage your boundaries yourself as well.
I think Dolores Cannon explained it very nice. She explained it in a very, very nice way. But when you said about keeping boundaries, it's not the easiest way, because sometimes we were taught to not to put ourselves first, just give more than we have. Sometimes I think it's a cultural thing, isn't it?
As well. Yeah, but it's also a planetary thing. So we've been told a lot about giving, and sharing our love and our energy. But there have been entities on the planet for many, many thousands of years that have been siphoning that energy off and using that for their own purposes. And these are negative entities that now, the cabal and everything else, if you look at the way the world has been structured and run, and those entities now, we've demolished a lot of that. That's a lot of that has been broken down. And hopefully very soon, after 3 days of darkness, we might have 1,000 years of peace. It's been predicted in many religious texts across many different continents. And we're hoping for that 26,000 year period finally coming to a close, and then a new earth being reborn. And they say that 3 days of darkness are needed before that happens. All of this is alchemical and lightworker language, and I don't know if everybody's going to understand everything, but I'm hoping that, hey, if I can get the message out to anybody and they prepare for it, they're prepared. If it happens or it doesn't happen, it's great.
Sometimes one sentence is enough, and this is why I see the names, because if someone is interested, then can be referred somewhere. Yeah, there's a lot of resources related to this.
Yes, correct.
I've got two. I wrote down two words: receiving, because we give, and tell me if alchemists give and receive, and or do you concentrate on giving? And also, I would like to ask about fashion, because it's very in fashion to be to talk about soul, to talk about to be spiritual. Where do we find balance between being a monk, spiritual
Yeah.
human being, and being the person who actually walks on earth, pays bills, and do washing?
Hot wood carry water, as my old Dutch therapist used to say. Yes, yes. Buddha.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, love it. Um, so you've got two good questions. One is receiving, and I think many people listening to this particular podcast or finding this in the future may be a therapist or a coach, and they give a lot, and they don't often receive. It's a three-sided coin, giving and receiving, and there's a third side. You have to figure that one out for yourself. But giving and receiving, if you don't receive, how can you give? There's nothing to give. You give till you're burnt out, and then there's nothing coming in. So you have to learn to be able to receive. Now, I've had a big problem with some karmic debt related to finances. So some karmic belief systems that money's bad. If I have it, I'm in trouble. So I just gave away 80,000 euros within a week. I sold one of my companies, and I just got rid of 80,000 in cash. It was in my bank account, and within a week it was gone. Just gamble it away, threw it away, basically. And I know that sounds terrible, and some of your guests might say, what an idiot, yeah, stupid. Everything has a purpose, right? Okay, so just bear with me.
Very interesting purpose.
But yeah, just getting rid of 80,000 euros without any yeah. So that taught me a lot and humbled me a lot to do that. That was very crazy. That was yeah. And yeah, I've learned a lot of lessons in my life about holding money and about holding value and giving value and receiving it. So these days, I also thank grace. I'm learning about grace. For me, grace it's been a big part of my life, I'm sure, but I haven't intellectually really applied grace to my life anyway. And that's basically just that beautiful faults that you have or things that you're not fulfilling. God fills you up. God gives you the necessary means to carry on, even when you can't carry on yourself. God's grace is incredible and amazing, and He loves you like no one else ever can. And that unconditional love for you, that's incredible, and that you can call on that love at any time. God, please come, please love me now. I need you, I need you. And God's grace will be there for you. And you'll feel God's arms around you, and angels' arms around you, and you can call on God at any time. So that's really important to know. That's receiving. Regarding your other topic of spiritual trendiness or fashionability, I just had a recent coach say to me once, wow, it's amazing to embody it. I see somebody so embodied. And that's a new word for me, to embody something. I kind of like that word, embody. And there's people who put the fashion on the outside of themselves and like to talk about it. And there's people who like to do it and feel it and be it. Okay? So I tend to not dress fantastically. You don't see me in a suit and a white shirt most of the time. Sometimes I have to do that. But a lot of light workers, they want to stay in the background. They don't want to be in the front. If you see most of the photos with me in seminars or events, I'm always in the background because I can give light to everybody in front of me. I can hold my hands up and I can give light to
That's a leadership. That's a very good leadership skill, isn't it?
I can support everybody else because they're the stars. They can shine. They can speak. Their voices need to be heard. I just need to be there. I don't need to speak. Just being there's enough for me. So that's the difference between maybe somebody who is what they say they are and somebody who talks about it, right? So you won't see me on many talk shows. This is a quite hidden podcast, Cassia. You don't have hundreds of thousands of followers yet. I'm really happy about that, okay? So, so I'm with you right now. I feel really comfortable with you on your show, on your podcast. I wouldn't feel comfortable going on a talk show, CNN or any other large media network, being invited to Joe Rogan and say, hey, let's have a talk with an alchemist and a light worker. That's not me. So I'm happy to be here with you today, Cassie.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it because I did the podcast in Polish about 2 years ago. I'll show you something. That was a time when I was really poorly, and I thought, you know what, I want to talk to people who ever inspired me, and I spoke to 25 people, and then I realized, oh my god, if I die tomorrow, this will be an amazing book. So I wrote the book with all these amazing people, and
Lovely.
they are coaches. They are just so amazing people with different point of views. And I thought, you know what? I want to start doing it in English because everyone speaks English. And I want to speak to clever people, much more clever than me, because I think that's the point. If we learn from each other, then we all grow. It's
Yeah,
not about
100%.
me, but it's just like, let's build something together that lasts. And as you said, tribes, like tribes,
Yeah,
when we,
all right.
yeah, like for example, when we play, like I've got a drum at home, and I realized once that when you play it with around other people, you wait for other person's response. But also, if you hear that someone didn't do their duty, you check on them. You check how are they doing, and I think this is what it's about.
I love that. I love that. We need to help the weak in the community as well. So the light workers and, for example, light workers are missing. There's a few communities online, yeah, and I belong to quite a few of them, but there's not many physical like communities that people can get together and say, okay, let's join together. And we need to. We need to. We need to make an enlightened planetary civilization. EPC. We need to start doing this. It's not restricted to our avatar or success resources or Maxwell leadership or PSI or Tony Robbins or any other group that's famous and has large audiences, Landmark, whatever. We've got to create our own community, our own 20 people that we love and trust and get together with. And I would love to see that physically. Right now, I'm trying to build online communities. I've started one and it's going quite nicely. I kicked 20 people out of it because they weren't doing anything, and 11 of them asked me to come back in. I asked, well, why? You're not active. Oh, we like the energy. was the most
So what? Yeah.
reply. They like the energy of the group. It's like, okay, well, every group that has good energy, build it. Keep the energy, keep the frequency high, enjoy each other, share with each other. And right now it's about our weaknesses too. Look, I'm not doing so well here. Guys, can you help me out? Can you pray for me? Can you work with me? Is anybody there to help or something? And the help comes in. Bang, bada, bam, bam, bam. Because if we're there for one, we're there for all. And I love that, Cassia. I love that idea of community building. And I think that's where we've got to be in the future. We're going to need each other coming up. When a few things collapse around here, which they're headed towards, then we're going to, we don't, people who can study the facts in different industries understand that, there has to be an end to this craziness that's going on. And it doesn't happen in a nice way. It ends with a bit of a bang. So let's see what happens after that.
If someone listens to us or watches us and thinks, I want to join Andrew, where can we find you?
Well, I'm about to set up my alchemist path, which is a financial self-development and spiritual awareness journey through 8 steps. So I'll be doing that online, 10 different social media sites. You can find me on my LinkedIn channel, Alchemist Andrew Porteous. You've seen my face now, you know who I am. My face is right there on LinkedIn. You can find me there, find me on Facebook. But I'd love people to hook into like a community or something like that. So I have a mastermind group that I have that people can join if they vibrate with what I say, or if they're on that frequency. That's cool. Come and join the mastermind. I'm happy to have more members there. That's a WhatsApp group. 115 people only at this stage, so that's great. And we're building speaker and trainer platforms as well. So I've got the Alchemist Network and a couple of people just starting to promote other healers, other speakers, coaches, and I'm finding other networks as well, which is exciting. So I'm networking the networks. Not yet. It's just coming to me. It's being given to me right now. So I'm very happy. So you'll be able to find me. No problem. Andrew Porteous, I'm sure.
Good. Before I let you go, is there anything you wanted to say today I didn't ask you?
Yeah, I would. I'd just like to share a final note. You, the people listening to this podcast right now, you don't realize how much power you actually have. Your ability to influence other people is massive. Cassie is doing a wonderful job here by giving people a voice, but you need to allow your own voice to have more reach as well. And you need to be able to develop yourself in a way that others can hear you, listen to you, see you. Get your courses, get your materials, listen to what you've learned, understand who you are as a person, because your frequency needs to be vibrated out into the planet. We are no longer standing still. We are no longer quiet. We are shining our lights. The basket is off. The lights are shining, and it's your turn to shine too. If anybody here is listening to this message and gets this, it's your time. Please make a start today. Do anything. Take a small step. Make it 2 minutes. Where are you going? And then make a 5-minute step after that. Don't plan it. Just start it and have the intention that you'll move in that direction. That'll be great.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for being here with me. Yeah, this is a legacy. You're building a fantastic community with legacy, and that will be carried not only with time, but it will also spread geographically. Yeah, if I could say something to our listeners, I would like you to take care of your stories as well, because these are the most important ones you'll ever tell.